Good morning, everybody, and welcome to PSG of Mercer County. The Professional Service Group of Mercer County is a group that is here for you. Anybody that is in any kind of career transition, we are here, like other groups are, to provide you with resources, information, a little bit of guidance, a little bit of self-help to help you make your job search a bit more easy for yourself and more effective. And in addition, I'd like to wish you a happy Aloha Friday. I do wear my Hawaiian shirt every day, and I guess a nice, another silver lining with COVID and being home is I could still wear short sleeves in the house. I don't have to worry about long sleeves in the winter. And if some of you remember 2+ years ago, when I would come to the library in the winter, I always had a long sleeve tee under my Hawaiian shirt. So I wanted to keep the Aloha strategy going. And in addition to Aloha Friday, happy birthday, Yoko Ono. She is 89 years old. So in the rock and roll and artistry world, so Yoko Ono is 89. And something else I found, discovered in 1930 on this date, is the dwarf planet of Pluto. So Pluto has had different classifications. Is it a planet? Is it not? It is now considered a dwarf planet, or I guess dwarf, I don't know if that's politically incorrect, so maybe we would call it the planet of restricted growth. Maybe that is a more politically correct term instead of using the word dwarf. So, but that's when the Pluto, the last planetoid object in our solar system, was discovered. In addition to being here each Friday morning, just about each Friday morning, we do have lots of other resources to help you be more efficient and effective in your job search. For example, we do have a LinkedIn group. Our LinkedIn group is a public group. It is, well, I should say it's private, but it's not a hidden group. And so you can find it. Just go on LinkedIn. If you are new to visiting us today, or if you haven't joined our LinkedIn group, please do so. We have 1,699 members and waiting to get, not just waiting to get to 1,700, waiting to getting and staying at 1,700, because this week I did accept a couple of new people. We got to 1,700, but then someone must have left the group and we were at 1,699. So let's see if we can cross and hold that threshold. And what our members are, or who our members are all people that have been to one of our meetings, either in person or virtual, at least once. So these are members and attendees of the group that are sensitive to job search. And so when we do get a request to join, and I cannot verify that the person has been to our group before, I do check with them also personally through an email, but if not, we don't accept them. We only want people that are aware of the mission and sensitive of the mission of job seekers and willing to help by sharing articles, sharing job leads, sharing posts, links to other organizations and events that are going on, people that are willing to help people in job search. So please join our group. We do have our website, of course, psgofmercercounty.org, psgofmercercounty.org. It is not just the landing page, it is over 120 web pages of content. There's just a lot of information there. We do have a menu on top with different tabs. One is called Open Jobs. It's kind of a two-part page. And on one part, we have links to 2,600 other company career pages. Those are 2,600 companies that are in Mercer County or the 6 border counties of Mercer County. And so that's kind of our general service area. I don't know what that's, a 20 or 30 mile range. Now, of course, being virtual, we have people from all over, because job search help is job search help for everybody. But in our company career page, if you're in the central New Jersey area, you may want to take a look at the our open jobs page and click on the county of interest. And what's nice, we don't have the job postings. We have links to those career pages, and hopefully each of those companies have job postings. Now, a lot of those companies will have postings throughout the country, but we know that they have a presence in the county where we posted them. So you may find a position nearby if you want to stay working in this area, or you may create a targeted company list. You may not have realized where some of these companies have locations, and that may be helpful as well. You may be pleasantly surprised that certain companies of interest are fairly close to you. So go take a look at that, our Open Jobs tab at the top of the menu. So in just a moment, I am going to turn over the meeting to Tony and his presentation. You can see he's getting himself started here. And remember, so for asking questions, we will use chat, that icon, the circular icon with the tab at the bottom. So we'll use that, and either type the word question by itself, and then I will keep an eye on that. And when you type the question, you can send it to one person or to everyone. Send it to everyone. That way Tony can see it, I can see it, others can read it if they want. It'll be part of the chat that we download. So it gives that opportunity. And so type the word question, and then I will find a nice time to just say to Tony, excuse me, there's a question, and then let you know that you can ask your question. Or if you prefer not to turn your microphone on, type the word question followed by the word question, and then I will also just interrupt Tony's program. I'll say, excuse me, and I'll read the question on your behalf. And so that's what we'll do. Other than that, just to keep any accidental background noise down, or whatever may be going on in your location or neighborhood, ringing phone, barking dog, whatever, keep your microphone on mute until you do actually need to speak with Tony. So as we move ourselves forward, PSG of Mercer County is very pleased to welcome back Tony Calabrese. Tony is the founder of Absolute Transitions LLC and a certified Get 5 career coach. Tony enjoys working with clients who are in job search or looking to change careers. The Get 5 methodology offers his clients a strategic and research-based approach to their job search. Tony received this coaching certification from the Institute for Professional Excellence in Coaching, and as such is able to offer his clients the unique combination of working with them both through their career search and life coaching issues as part of his practice. Tony also does career coach and acclimation consulting with REA Partners in Transition. In that role, he provides career coaching and acclimation assistance to accompanying spouses of employees whose companies move them to the New Jersey, New York area. In 2020, Tony also began providing coaching services to his clients of Marriott International, who were let go from their jobs due to the coronavirus. Those services are provided as a senior career coach and consultant for the White Hawk Group. In 2021, he became a strategic partner with Kawa Community Partners and a trained vendor in administering their assessment tool to help learn the values that derive who you are in the work you do. PSG of Mercer County is pleased to welcome Get 5 career coach Tony Calabrese.
Thank you, David. Today's today's presentation on self-assessment and setting direction is one that not only do I enjoy doing, but it is a major part of how I was trained. David mentioned that I am a trained Get 5 or 5 o'clock club career coach. And in their methodology, they have it as a 5-part process, starting with the step of assessment. Basically, and this is very common, when people come into job search, they're not necessarily sure of what it is they're looking to do next in terms of themselves. So what we're going to talk about this morning is taking that step to assess what it is you're going to want to research, how it is you're going to want to present yourself. David even mentioned about companies in his, in the area on the open job list, targeting companies and all. All that is possible, but to me, I don't see how it is possible without taking the time to assess yourself. So we're going to get into reasons why you want to assess yourself when you're in job search transition. How much emphasis you should place on self-assessment, because there are those who then get so wrapped up in the assessment process that they're paralyzed about taking moves forward. And again, this is a nice balance between really taking the time to get to know yourself and what you offer versus getting so locked in that you're afraid to make a move. How you may want to assess yourself, different areas of yourself do you want to consider. I have about 6 or 7 assessments that I'm going to introduce you to in my arsenal. A number of them are from my Get 5 days. The very last one is the newest one. David mentioned in my bio that I was introduced to a assessment by Kawa Community Partners, and where I became an affiliate of theirs. If there's been one positive of the COVID virus, it is that people have gotten to meet people that they may never have met before because of this use of Zoom and connecting virtually. And so I had the opportunity in 2021 to connect to a woman in Florida who had an assessment tool that she not only introduced me to, had me take, and which frankly I really not only loved but endorsed for those in job search. We're going to talk about how all this assessing helps you in developing the accomplishment statements that you so much hear about needing in your resumes, in your LinkedIn profile, in your interviews, and also how they help you identify your transferable skills, particularly if you're looking to take what you've done but change industry. Going to talk about how you develop an accomplishment statement. And as David mentioned, I'm always happy to share the slides, and including in that is my contact information, so that if after the presentation, sometime along the way, you have any questions, have any issues or concerns, you can always reach out to me. It'll have my phone number or it'll have my email. So why do people want to assess when they're in transition? First of all, they're going to want to gather information. They want to gather information about, are they in the right kind of job? Are they in the right industry? Are they in the right size company? Those that are in transition, yes, sometimes they're in it involuntarily. A company has let them go. A company has decided we don't do that type of work anymore or whatever. But there are a lot of folks, and I think we're hearing more and more about this now with this concept of the great resignation, which frankly Tony calls more the great reflection, that basically comes down to they weren't happy with what they were doing even before the coronavirus. And so they've said, hey, I want to take some time to assess what it is I should do next. There are parts of what you've done in your past work that gave you a lot of satisfaction and parts that did not. A lot of times those thoughts are jumbled in your mind. Assessment allows you to get them out in front of you, be it on paper, be it on an electronic device. The more and more you say, well, I don't need to do assessment. I know myself. I got all this up here in my head. The more and more I'm going to say to you, you're going to probably miss something. You're probably going to get very confused, or something may just be in your brain today and gone tomorrow. And so taking the time to get it out and seeing it in front of you is so helpful. Self-assessment helps you to market yourself more effectively. I saw a lot of the veteran people who have facilitated a number of the job search support groups on this call, and it was great to see so many of you again. I haven't seen a number of you in a while. And one of the things we've always asked people to do when they come to the meetings is usually maybe do a small pitch of who they are and what they're looking for. And over the years, we've seen that's not easy for people to do, especially in the beginning. It takes time, it takes practice, but it takes getting to know yourself. When you've assessed yourself well, it helps in improving the writing of your resume and cover letters. It helps in how you present yourself on social media websites, especially LinkedIn. It certainly helps enhance your verbal pitch. And it's going to ultimately help in your interviews, because when people ask for examples of different things, then you're going to find that it's going to help you in that. When we say how much emphasis you should place on self-assessment, things you want to ask yourself: do you know exactly what it is you want to do? Have you analyzed your strengths and skills? Have you developed a clear sense of what you need to be happy and fulfilled at work? Do you know what skills you have that can be transferred to a new job or career? And have you defined the ideal work environment that matches your requirement? In short, basically, these are questions that get down to not only who you are, what you are, but also the types of folks you like to work with, the types of things and types of size companies you might want to work with, and the skills you'd like to have as part of your work. So how may you want to assess yourself? You probably want to first get a sense of your values. What are your values? What are your interests? What are your skills? Certainly, you might want to have a sense of the type of personality you have. Again, when I say your preferred work environment, David talked before about places that like to have casual days. And if you like that, and you're in a place that believes in 5 days a week, in particular work clothes and whatever, and this and that, you may not be a happy camper for long. And there's also what the work activities you like and why you enjoy doing them. So I'm going to talk about seven different types of assessments that I have in my arsenal. Many of these are very straightforward and ones you can do. The last one about absolute transitions values assessment gets a little more involved, but I'll explain it. We're going to talk about your work-related values inventory, short and long-term goals, satisfiers and non-satisfiers that you might have had by job, your relationship with bosses, your ideal work environment, your personal and special interests, and then, like I say, my newest assessment tool, the absolute transitions values assessment. So what's the work-related values inventory about? Simply, when I do this with clients, give them a list of values, anywhere from 30 to 50 different work values. I ask them to rate each value on a scale of 1 to 4, with 1 being it's not at all important to them, to it's very important to them. And note when I say it's not very important to very important, they're filling it at a particular time in their career. I would dare say that if they filled it out in their 30s and 40s in terms of age, they may be at different of that value point at the time that they're in their 50s or 60s. So again, important to get to know yourself. When you're done, I say to you, okay, pick out the top 5 most important values to you at this point in your career. Rank those top 5, including the one you cannot do without, and which one's absolutely non-negotiable. This way, you have them in a sense of, gee, as I'm looking for roles, these are the types of things I need to have, and which one may I be willing to compromise on? And like I say, this is great to do at different points of your career because your values will change as you reach different points in your life. So again, one of the things you may want to consider are your work-related values. And again, this is an assessment that's very easy for me to share with anybody who would be interested in wanting to do it. For others, I will say, look at your short-term versus your long-term goals and targets, and not just leave it with just career. Certainly, you may have career objectives. And yes, right now, your objective, you may say to me, is get a job. But I would say to you, what is your career goals? What are you thinking of maybe doing at, say, this point of your life, but maybe what you might want to do 5 years from now or 10 years from now? A lot of times your career objectives tie into your personal objectives. Perhaps you realize maybe 10 years from now, your children will be growing. They're out of college, and you're saying to yourself, gee, I would want to have a situation where I don't necessarily want to have to live where I do anymore. What are your long-term financial objectives? What are things that are on your bucket list that you'd like to do? How are you going to get to those points? Also, too, is it possible that you might want to live a lifestyle where later in your life, yes, you want to stay active, but in staying active, you say, I'd really kind of rather work maybe 3 days a week, or maybe just help consult, or maybe also have my own business. What are your other goals? So again, another way to assess yourself is saying, where am I now at this stage in my life? And in fact, the way this is done in the Get 5 process, they give you a set of questions. And they say, okay, answer the questions now. Answer the questions as if it's 5 years from now in 2027. Answer them again as if it's 5 years after that in 2032. For really young people, they will even tell them to go out 35, 40 years. But again, goal being that you are kind of getting a sense of where it is you want to head, because that's going to help in building the strategy of how you want to get there. Again, a thing to keep in mind, it's funny, I bill myself not only as a career coach, but as a job search strategy coach. I think a lot of that does come from my training. I love the training aspect through the strategy aspect of this process. It's fascinating because I have worked with a number of clients over the years, and just going through the strategy, the way they might want to approach things, whatever, it is really rewarding when you see someone who's come to this and literally starts saying, some of these thoughts, these processes have really worked. For example, I mentioned before about how it prepares you for interviews. That's not just only job interviews, but what we call the informational interview, where you talk to others about their field, what it's like, how I might be a candidate for that field, how my skills are transferable to it. Also, probably with each job you've ever had, there's been things that have satisfied you about it and things that have not satisfied you about it, things that made you unhappy. Get those out in front of you. Reason I suggest that too is I have found people tend to be great over the years knowing what the non-satisfiers are. They can tell you down to a T the things they hated about the job. But they sometimes forget there were things that they liked about it. They liked, maybe particular aspects of the work style. They liked particular aspects of the types of duties they had. They liked the types of people they connected with. Maybe they liked the various individuals they worked with, but they didn't necessarily like the company or the company's policies and all. So this gives you an understanding, because it's interesting. The more you do this, you tend to find there are patterns. People are people of habit, and they tend to find there are certain things that have to be present for them to be happy. In addition to the satisfiers and non-satisfiers, there probably are bosses you have had during your career that you've loved, bosses that you have hated somewhat, and bosses that you have truly hated. You want to also kind of chart that and get a sense of, with the bosses you have had, when you have had problems, have there been minor problems, somewhat more major problems, or severe problems? You want to know that ahead of time. Why do you want to know that? Because as you are interviewing, you must realize that the interview isn't just them asking you questions. It is you having a conversation with a company, with individuals at a company, to see not only what is the company like, what's their culture like, what are their needs like, but is there things about that company culture that might not necessarily jive with who you are and what you're about. So as a result of that, you probably want to kind of go back and say, gee, what are types of situations that are probably going to make me uncomfortable as I move forward? You want to also kind of bring that up into an ideal work environment. One, there have been roles that you have liked. What were the surroundings of the company like? How was it? People are now asking this question now, even as they are working virtually. It was interesting before I got on the webinar this morning. I was seeing some local postings in terms of people in my town area. I live up in Maplewood. And people were saying, you know, I like this working from home deal, but I don't necessarily like being in the house all the time. Do I have options? And people were suggesting different options. Who said the local coffee shop? Who said the library? Who said maybe even rent a space at a place that has workspace and all? In fact, those of us who've become entrepreneurs, we learn, this is a lesson that we learn very quickly as we become people in our own business. We start learning, gee, how and where do we want to set up how we want to work? We get a sense of who are the people we work best with? Who are the clients we're meant to attract? I am a career coach, and on this, I know on this particular call, there are other career coaches. Many times we all have our own specialty, parts of the process we love to do the most. I tend like to do the overall strategy. Somebody else might be more proficient in the interview part of the process, others in the development of the resume. I know of folks that like to help people find their what next, but don't dare want to coach them through the process of how they have to go about it. So again, it depends. We all have our different styles in the way we want to work. And for us, all of us, there are different recognitions and rewards that are important to us. Well, certainly some of those rewards are monetary. They could be in the form of extra vacation time, time off to be able to see your children's activities. They could be things that involve further education and all. So again, these are all things to consider before you start targeting and moving forward. What are your personal and special interests? Because that's going to probably give you an understanding of the types of people who are your people. Are you somebody that likes to work with tools, objects, machines? Are you somebody who likes to develop manuals? Are you somebody who, you know, pretty much wants to work pretty much with themselves or a small group of people, want to know the task at hand, and then basically you're happy, I'll get the thing done for you. That's the realistic type person. Or maybe you're investigative, maybe you're a person who tends to be curious. So what, maybe you're a person for the sciences, mathematics, medical. By the same token, maybe you are what we call more a right-brained individual. You tend to not like rigid patterns. You tend to be more artistic. You tend to want to be free from routine. You tend to kind of get to the end answer by coming at it from all sorts of angles. So you might want to look more for the free thinkers that are like yourself. I don't think I would have been in this profession that I'm in now if I indeed was not a social person. I am definitely a person who loves to have social contact with people, teaching and helping others. So as a result of that, I basically am really aligned with what I like to do. Perhaps you're somebody who likes to basically build businesses from scratch. And so as a result, you're more of an enterprising type individual. Or maybe you are someone who is meant to do something that's very structured, very siloed, very, all the processes are in place. You may be more of a candidate for a larger organization, so you're more conventional. I mentioned about the assessment that I was introduced to a couple, I guess it was a year ago now. And again, like I say, this assessment's a little different than the other 6. The other 6 put the onus on you to complete. This is one where it allows you to take a group of choices, forced choices, about maybe 40 or so of them, answer them, and then let those forced choices provide you feedback in the form of a 10-page report that basically breaks things down into different groupings. It's an assessment that's based on 7 different sciences. It's not only just a personality test, but it is a test of assessment of what are your strengths in terms of functional areas, how you go about working with people and addressing challenges and problems. How do you look to actually connect with people, relate with people, to sell yourself or sell services. Like I say, you respond to about 40 to 50 forced choice items. You're going to learn what are your business competencies from this particular assessment. You also learn what are the top 7 values in your life at this time. And in addition, you're going to see how those values align with each other. It is very, very interesting. I took this assessment, and my top 7 values aligned with me very well. But one of them, the value of respect, showed up in the assessment with what they called splatter dots around it. And those splatter dots indicated there were things in that value that were out of alignment for me. And what that out of alignment could be traceable to, I had to think about. In my case, like I say, it was the value of respect. And perhaps that respect value was out of alignment for me in that I felt I always had to be proving to people what I offered was valuable, or that I could take it personally if people didn't believe in the methods and tools that I have. But anyway, that's one of the things that the assessment will do for you. Are any of your values in conflict? What is your work style when you connect with others? I very much am considered a societal. I want what's best for individuals and for individuals in general. For some people, they are more of a longer. It's more of they want to build the friendship. For others, it's more they're an achiever. They want to just do the best that they can. And for others, they're an emulator. They not only want to do the best, they want to be the best of class in what they do. We all have a little bit of everything in us, but certain things predominate one over the other. What's the type of company culture you like to work for? Again, company culture, particularly you're going to find with our younger folks, is really, really important these days. What size company is right for you? Are you meant for a big corporation? Are you meant for an entrepreneurial business? Are you meant for something in between? Like, gee, it's got some components of entrepreneurial, but maybe it's a new division in a company. So you've got the structure set up, but you don't have to do everything from scratch like an entrepreneur, but you're able to do things that are not all defined for you. And above all, the assessment will give you an idea of what motivates and drives your decision process. Are you a person that when challenges come out, do you have to have an answer quickly? Are you able to work things through with a large comfort zone in that you say, okay, maybe it won't work today, but if I continue to work at it in this way, it will get better and better. And also, do you try to work with people by working with them and negotiating, or are you more of somebody who's more of a hard driver of things? So again, if you'd ever want to talk to me about this assessment, please let me know. I do acknowledge it does have a price to it and a cost. It costs $299, but for that, you not only get the assessment, you get a debrief from me, which goes for at least an hour, if not longer, and it may give you a mindset of not only the type of work you want to do, but the different ways you might want to go about it. So you've done all this assessing, and you say to yourself, okay, Tony, what's the benefit of all this? One of the things is it's going to help you take the time to assess what is next that your career is going to allow you to do. You become aware of the things that you've done well in your career. You get an insight into your natural talents. So you get to identify what are your skills and strengths. What are the things that I did well? You develop a solid base for preparing your resume, preparing for interviews. And it also gives you a sense of the things that may help in terms of your career advancement. We talk often in the job search groups about having your stories that explain who you are, what you've accomplished. I have a hard time seeing how people are able to do it without doing some form of assessment of themselves. Does it have to be as rigorous and structured as I'm showing in this presentation? No. But if you don't do it at all, I really challenge you that you're going to be caught flat when people either say to you, so tell me about yourself, or give me an example of how you accomplished something like that in your past career. Or when they ask you those nice behavioral questions that are something of a nature of how would you react if, for example, half of your staff called in sick tomorrow and all. You may have experiences like that in your past. So this gives you a chance to think of them and formulate the messaging you would have. In building your accomplishment statements, or as you may know them, your CARs, your PARs, your SARs stories, you want to make them specific and measurable. You want to build them with action verbs. You want to quantify where possible. And I know I get many a times from people, I'm not a salesperson, or I'm not this. I have a hard time quantifying, and we're going to talk about that in the sense of it's more than just raw numbers. It could be that something is the first that was ever in that office, or you made it the best, or you helped save time in a process, or it became the model for the rest of the departments in your organization. That's still quantifying it. It answers what we call the so what factor. When employers hear your accomplishment stories, you not only want them to say, well, gee, that's nice, but boy, based on my needs, I think that's something that would be helpful here, or they seem to have the skills that I'm going to need. Now, you might say, well, how do I know if my accomplishment story aligns with what the employer needs? This is where, before even going into that interview, You have researched the company. You've tried to talk to people who work at the company to get to know their challenges or problems. You also, too, are going into your interview as much of as a questioner as a person who is answering questions. You are basically looking to be someone who's being investigative, almost like a consultant in terms of things. And is the story you're telling, or is the accomplishment you're using, relevant to the type of job you are seeking? So here's an example accomplishment statement. The statement's here under the balloon. You initiated a new product launch process that reduced time to market by 75%. Notice there's an action verb. You initiated. There's relevant logic, a relevant topic, a new product launch. That's a topic. The impact, you reduce time to market by 75%, key metric. And obviously, the benefit is going to be in some sort of dollar savings for your employer. So again, this is just an example of one accomplishment statement. As you work yourself through job search, you're going to find you'll have several in your arsenal, and you start using them selectively, picking and choosing them to be able to present who you are and what you're about. So this is my contact information. I hope that you found this helpful. I'm more than happy to answer any questions that you may have about this topic or any on job search. Again, like I say, I look at it as a 5-step process. It is a process where you assess, you research, you target the types of organizations and companies and roles you'd want to do, you interview, and boy, do you do a lot of follow-up, an awful lot of follow-up. So
Tony,
I will stop sharing my,
Yeah, thanks,
yes.
Tony. I see you stop. Yeah, leave that slide up for now. I also just posted your contact information. And Stephen does have a question. So we will read that one.
Yes.
Question for, so what? What if your accomplishment was a team effect? Is a team accomplishment as good as a personal accomplishment?
I would say absolutely, Stephen, and let me explain. Number one, it is rare that any one individual does something all by themselves. So as a result, the ability to show how you were able to get your team together, move your team together, interact and all, is certainly going to be of value to an employer. The only way, and even, this even comes up to in situations where people have maybe had a component piece of a large project and they say, gee, should I include that accomplishment? And I would say yes, because again, without your component part, without your expertise, without your ability to collaborate with those other people, the overall project doesn't get done.
And it's a great soft skill to highlight that you work in a team environment successfully.
Absolutely. In fact, it is a rare company that would not value your ability to collaborate, either be it through your staff and or across departments. In fact, more and more, as there's a lot of flattening in organizations as far as the management structure, the ability to work across departments is so key. That's why nowadays people usually wind up interviewing with maybe 4, 5, 6 different individuals because they're touching so many different departments. And if any of those departments feel you're not the person that they can count on to deliver your piece of the puzzle, they're going to, have a negative say-so in the overall decision on who they decide to bring in.
Terrific. John has a question as well. From your perspective, what assessment has been the most helpful to your clients and prospect?
Okay. Up to now, John, probably certainly the one in terms of the initial values one where you put, rate them on the terms of 1 to 4. I've got to admit that I've yet to actually have many of my clients do the new one about the absolute transitions one, but I have seen it debriefed on a number of different clients, because what's happening, where I am the affiliate out of, they've brought us together as a team of coaches to help debrief a client. And I have never, this is one of the reasons I became an affiliate of it. I said, wow, I have yet to see an assessment where people find it so eye-opening that it's not only telling them what they value, but it is also telling them maybe types of size companies. It's telling them their style of interacting with people, whatever. I've yet to, and I've probably now seen at least 15 of these debriefs, and I've yet to see a person that goes, gee, this doesn't align with me at all. If anything, it's just the opposite. It's like, wow, boy, this thing hit me. I knew this right on, but boy, it's right there in front of me.
Okay, so, oh, and then there's a follow-up from John. Are those in leadership to present their so what stories different from individual contributors?
I think, John, where the difference would be is this. The ones in leadership, probably in terms of their so what stories, are going to have so what stories that are more about, how do I best put this? I guess from the standpoint of, yeah, dollar savings, efficiency savings, but also too, maybe also the way of making sure that you're driving toward the overall company goal. So yeah, there might be a difference in that regard, as opposed to where it's those who are probably more doing the day-to-day work. Those are going to be more specifically task oriented. So I think that, again, yeah, there is probably going to be a slight thing, but it's still always, what was the goal? What were the actions you or your team took? What was the positive result for the company? And how can that be attributable either in dollar value, savings, whatever?
And it seems John has some happy fingers because here's his third question. Are the assessments alluded to in your presentation different from those we have to go through during interviews?
Okay, I would say this, John, that they are put together under the mindset of the job seeker and what the job searcher needs best for themselves to move their search forward. The ones you probably go through in interviews are more based on that individual company and what that individual company feels aligns best with the type of personality type or behavioral type that they feel works best in their company. So I think that that's where they're different, that these are more general in terms of the individual getting a sense of them and what is important to them, where the ones you might take in a company are what's more important to the company in terms of the people they hire.
Thank you very much. All right. So I don't see any other questions right now. And of course, folks, when we wrap up in just a couple minutes, we will turn off the microphone or the recording, but hang around the meeting room so we can chit chat. Tony, you're welcome to hang around with us as well. But again, thanks so much. I'm so grateful and appreciative that you are a supporter of PSG of Mercer County. I really liked how you emphasized how self-assessments really help us market ourselves more effectively. You know, we get to understand our competencies, our career objectives, the type of company we want to work for, or the culture that they have. Sometimes job seekers jump right in without testing the waters of themselves before testing the waters of the market. And it's, you know, we may not know what we're aiming for, so we're not sure exactly what to hit. So I think there's a tremendous amount of value to this. I'm so glad you were able to explain that to all of us.
I was happy to be here, happy to do it. In fact, David, when I work with those in search, especially you mentioned my REA clients and things like that, and they're new to the state of New Jersey, and they ask about different things that can help. One of my top groups is PSG of Mercer County, with follow-up being PSG of Morris County. I don't want John Sampson to be mad at me too. I do usually have you guys at the top of the list.
And there's also PSG of Central New Jersey. There were originally through the state probably 11 or 12 PSG groups, but we're the three that are still able to provide value to people in job search, as is the group that you lead, Northern New Jersey's Professionals in Transition. They meet on alternating Tuesdays, so you may want to get information or follow up with Tony about that group as well. So as we do wrap up, remember we will leave the microphone on and the meeting open in a few minutes. Just want to let you know, next week we of course will be right back here on Friday, and it's a bit of a wellness presentation. You know, one thing I'm very appreciative of groups like the PSGs and others that meet weekly is that we can do a lot greater variety of topics for job seekers than the groups that meet less often, like monthly. So we're doing a wellness, building support for your job search. And so it will be life coach Beth Fitzgerald, not career coach. Life coach Beth Fitzgerald has been here a number of times, and she will be coming back, along with a health and mindset coach, Sarah Reinholtz. So we have two coaches, two for the price of one. So that's what we will be doing next week on the 25th. And then the following week, March 4th, Louis Maltby will be here. He's an attorney with the National Work Rights Institute, and he will be talking about navigating the pre-employment screening minefield. So there's a lot of things that you need to think about as you are doing the screening process and navigating through it. So that's what he will be doing. And so Lou will be here, again, an attorney with the National Work Rights Institute. So that's the next 2 weeks here. Of course, lots of other groups continue to meet. Tomorrow morning, if you're willing to get up nice and early at 8:30, I was invited to do a presentation at the Career Support Group. It's careersupportgroup.org, careersupportgroup.org. The importance of personal branding for offer negotiation. So that's what I will be speaking about at that group. New Jersey Job Seekers meets every other Tuesday, alternating Tuesday evenings at 7:30. I did post the link. It's a little bit of a long link. I did post that in our LinkedIn group, and so you can find the meeting link right there. Of course, PSG of Central New Jersey, as we mentioned, meets Mondays at 10:30 in the morning, psgcnj.biz. And PSG of Morris County meets on Wednesday mornings. They meet at 9:30, but they open the gates at 8:30, psgmc.org. So that's what's coming up over the coming week. And once again, thank you, Tony, for being a part of our group. And folks, we hope that we will be able to see you soon, hopefully in person, but if not, at least virtually. And until that time, I will simply say goodbye, everybody.